What's going on, everybody? Jolt here from the Token Minorities, and I am here with NPL Season 7 Week 1. Hard to believe we're already on Season 7 of the NPL. I've been here since Season 2, so this is my 6th season in the league. And, it's gone actually pretty fast. It's been a blast, and I'm really excited to kick off Season 7 here this week. And it's against none other than TrevCL, so definitely a fun matchup here right out of the gates. But before I go any further, got a few things I want to talk to you guys about. First and foremost, make sure to check out the description down below, as down there you will see a link to all the channels of the NPL Majors coaches, as well as our NPL Minors coaches and analysts. All of those are people I highly recommend you check out. I happen to like every single one of them quite a bit, otherwise they wouldn't be in the NPL system. So yeah, give them all a look. They're all really good people and quality content creators as well, so make sure to check all of them out, as well as the NPL channel, which is linked down below, as well as our NPL Twitter, and finally the NPL fan server, where you can come out and support your Toronto Staraptors and engage in a few activities with me in the Discord server, as well as with several other fans and other coaches across the league. So that's the first bit of shoutouts I wanted to give out. Now I also want to give out a shout out to my front office, who will be helping me throughout this season. Just some of the names that aren't already NPL coaches. There are some NPL coaches in there. I'm not going to shout them out here just because they're already shouted out in the description below, but my man Hallucination, Howlu's going to be helping me out this season. Tone, a minors coach. David Magic, a minors coach, as well as Carson and Bronson, as well as the Flying Bird. Those are the people who are going to be helping me out throughout the season in my front office. Huge shout out to them, as without them I probably wouldn't get any mocks. So that's certainly very helpful throughout this season. So go check them out as well. I think that's pretty much all of their YouTube names as well. I don't know all their YouTube names off the top of my head, so I do apologize for that. But yeah, cool people, really cool dudes, and happy to have them helping me out this season. Now, with all of that said, we're already 2 minutes in, haven't talked about this matchup at all. We're against Trev. We're against Trev and his newly rebranded Houston Toxapexans. So, in case you missed my draft analysis and don't know my entire draft yet, you can see it in front of you now. My draft is Jirachi, Terrakion, Crobat, Rotom Wash, Superior, Kofagragus, Gudra, Aromatisse, Swampert, Zangoose, and Mega Houndoom. It is a very fun, very versatile draft with a lot of kind of unique picks, I think, and not too much flashy stuff. And that makes this draft really fun for someone like me to use, who likes to be super creative, likes to use my defensive stuff offensively, likes to use my offensive stuff defensively. There's so many things I can do with this draft, and this first matchup is no exception here against Trev, where his team is Tapu Fini, Weavile, Mega Gallade, Nidoqueen, Silvally, which can be any type, Uxie, Deblade, Blissey, Xurkitree, Torkoal, and Victory Bell, with Xurkitree being the Z captain. On my team, the Terrakion is the Z captain. I didn't mention that before. But, yeah, so he's got a pretty threatening team. The good news is he can't really use that little core he has at the end with the Torkoal and Victory Bell. He really can't use that against me, and that's because I have Mega Houndoom. And if you look through the calcs, I already talked about this a little bit. I'm not sure if it was in my draft analysis or just in my interview, but at +2, after a nasty plot, Mega Houndoom in the Sun, Oko's Blissey. Okay, after rocks, but even so. Blissey is not a counter to Mega Houndoom in the Sun, meaning that Trev cannot afford to run Sun and power up my Mega Houndoom, especially because it actually outpaces his entire team, bar Victory Bell in the Sun and bar Weavile. He has to bring Scarfers to outpace it, otherwise making Mega Houndoom in the Sun an enormous threat to his team, and something that I honestly would consider building around as well if I wanted to bring Manual Sun in this matchup. Other big threats against his team. Terrakion is a huge threat against him. The only thing he really has to just beat Terrakion is kind of Deblade, but not really, because if you look at his speed tiers, I can freely run Adamant against him, and by just running Adamant plus Tectonic Rage, Deblade is not a counter. In fact, it just dies. So that's the thing. He has to be like full Fizz Def to be able to take on a Tectonic Rage from an Adamant to Terrakion, so that's pretty neat. Of course, also across his entire draft, he struggles to switch into ground moves, so that's something that I can certainly abuse here in my team build, and that's actually what I do decide to go with for the concept behind the team that I'm building here for this particular matchup. But with that said, Zangoose actually is pretty cool. It's not, a normal Zangoose set isn't particularly good here, and by normal I mean just a Toxic Orb set, because he does have the Finny, which can deny my Toxic Orb being triggered. He also does have the Deblade, which does kind of check Zangoose really well. It just counters Zangoose, honestly, unless I am Bandit and he sets up a T-Spike for me, but I definitely could do that here, actually. That'd be pretty funny if he wants to try to bring T-Spikes against me and I just bring a banded Zangoose, but overall, Zangoose does get coverage to hit his entire team really hard, and he only has, I believe, one normal resist on his entire roster, and that is the Deblade. So if I'm able to pressure the Deblade a lot with my team build, the Zangoose could also be a huge threat, even with something as simple as a Choice Scarf. So just some bigger threats on his team to mine. The Xurkitree, I think, is pretty annoying for my team to deal with, in that I have this Goodra that could switch in really freely, but the issue is if I bring an AV Goodra to check a potential Tail Glow or Scarf Xurkitree, he's very easily able to just Volt Switch on that and go straight into something like Mega Gallade, for which my team doesn't have switch-ins. Not that any team really does have switch-ins for Mega Gallade, but you get my point on that. He can just Volt Switch on a bulky pivot and go straight into a breaker, and that's not something I really want to deal with, especially when his breakers are as potent as Weavile and Mega Gallade. So yeah, that's not something I want to deal with when he can easily just pair that with the Scarf Xurkitree. So my team build was going to have that combination in mind, the Xurkitree into the Weavile Mega Gallade core offensively, and as long as I can beat that core, then I think I should be good to go. I really think that's the most devastating offensive option he could have against me, and yeah, so I'm just going to prep extra heavily for that combination. But otherwise, I don't really fear too much on his team. Deblade is good defensively, but I think I can overpressure it, and that's exactly what I'm going to do with my team build. The Sun core is threatening, but he is not in his right mind going to bring Sun against the Mega Houndoom, and even if he does, I can bring a ton of priority options to be able to take on the Victory Bell, as it is a very frail Pokemon, despite the speed boost that it of course would get under Sun. Tapu Fini is kind of annoying for me to deal with, but I also can wear that down pretty easily, especially if I bring a more offensive build. And Nidoqueen is only annoying in the sense that it can lay T-Spikes and be kind of a nuisance for the defensive Pokemon on my team, but of course Zangoose would gobble those right on up if that's what he wants to do for me. But really, Nidoqueen's speed tier is pretty garbage against my team, and that's something that I really like about this draft. I'm so fast that these old-fashioned breakers like Nidoqueen are not really able to do much against me at all. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and hop on over to the team builder. And as you can see, first and foremost, we are starting this off with the Terrakion. Now this is just a ground EMZ set with EQ, Quick Attack, and Stone Edge. I do not have a boosty move on this because I really wanted Stealth Rocks on this team, and as you can see later, I actually cannot really have Stealth Rocks on this Swampert. So this is ground EMZ to allow me to hit the Nidoqueen and Deblade really hard, and because he only has two potential resistances to ground, being Uxie and a Silvally with the proper typing, I think ground spam is super good against him. So I'm going to build this team around the concept of ground spam, over pressuring the Deblade, and just having just enough momentum on my team to give him a really hard time. And I really do think that this team does accomplish that goal. So not a whole lot else to say on this. I do have Quick Attack and an Adamant Nature on this just to allow me to get that extra bit of revenge punch against something like the Mega Gallade, which could be annoying for me. It also gives me an option to hit the Weavile before it takes me out with a certain hit. And of course, most importantly, probably it gives me something to hit Scarf Xurkitree as well as Victory Bell in the Sun. And quite honestly, Adamant Terrakion with Quick Attack does hit really hard. It hits 392 as you can see here, so it's a very powerful Pokemon, and just overall super solid against him as an offensive breaker. It's not really a win con, but it's going to be able to break him down for the rest of my team to really do what it's supposed to do. So next up is the monster, Zangoose. So this is Choice Scarfed Zangoose. Alright, so Zangoose is okay against this team as a Toxicorp set, but it is actually super threatening whenever I'm able to keep the pressure on Deblade. Terrakion is essentially, in a sense, a Deblade lure, and Zangoose takes advantage of that, because if the Deblade does take the Tectonic Rage from the Terrakion, then his normal resists don't exist. Did I say normal exists? Normal resists don't exist. So that means that Scarf Zangoose goes absolutely nuts, and after a few rounds of chip from a variety of things on my team, Zangoose can actually just straight clean up with return, and just having that quick attack option as well is of course nice for the potential Victory Bell and the potential Scarf Xurkitree. So you can see I have a lot of different options here already on this team to help me deal with the Pokemon that I fear the most, and that is that Scarf Xurkitree, plus that Mega Gallade. So again, I have another Pokemon, or the first Pokemon here that can actually outspeed Mega Gallade, which makes this all the more of a threat against his team, as I really do think he's going to at least build around Mega Gallade, I think Scarf Circuitry is coming, but it's also possible that he will opt against it because I do have the combination of several things that can outspeed it, as well as a Goodra and an Electric immunity in the Swampert. So we'll just see what he decides to do on that, but Scarf Zangoose is super good, especially if he decides to gift me Toxic Spikes, as then I would have the Choice Scarf and the Toxic Boost, and there will be 0 switch-ins on his roster. Things will be O-code instead of just 2-hit KO'd. So yep, Zangoose, pretty cool here, and couples well as a breaker partner with the Terrakion. And what I really like about this, I'm going to go into a little more detail on this team builder than I probably will throughout the season, just because it's the first time using this team this season. There's a lot of tricks and tips that I'm figuring out here as I'm building this team. This core, this Terrakion Zangoose core, is incredibly analogous to what I had in Season 4 with Braylon and Lucario. They break the same way, they break for each other, they force the same switch-ins and can break down said switch-ins, and that's why Zangoose fits this team so freaking well, coupling with, of course, the minor T-Spike's weakness without it. But yeah, so this core is something I think I'll build around a lot this season. It's really, really easy to build around and quite potent for an opponent to try to deal with, so that's what I wanted to say on that. Next up is the Mega Houndoom. Now this is mainly here to allow me to have a very good response to Uxie, as an offensive core like Terrakion Zangoose really doesn't break down Uxie particularly well, so I wanted to have another offensive member that could do that. And Mega Houndoom, of course, can pretty well. Now, if he does bring Uxie, I think that a Culver Berry is pretty likely, so I'm not even going to bother with Dark Pulse, because Fire Blast hits his entire team neutrally or super effectively, aside from Tapu Fini, which is hit by the Sludge Bomb. So really all I needed was Fire Blast and Sludge Bomb anyways. It does enough to Uxie to where he's not going to appreciate taking a Fire Blast, especially if I'm able to get up a Nasty Plot. And if I am able to get up a Nasty Plot, then I can easily 2-hit KO even an Assault Vest Tapu Fini with Sludge Bomb if he decides to bring that in. And, of course, if he wants to set up the Sun for me, I still have enough special attack investment to give his Blissey a very hard time if he wants to try to bring Blissey against me. And if he actually wants to try to use Blissey as his counter, it means it has to be Spadef Blissey, meaning that I can flick it with any of my offensive options and probably 2-hit KO it with any of them. So, or maybe even Oko with a lot of them. So, yeah, this really is a solid fit on this team. It really patches that hole in terms of being able to offensively deal with all of the things that Terrakion and the Zangoose could not. Plus, I have Sucker Punch on this, so this makes my third priority option, again, just an effort to make sure I don't lose to things like Scarf Circuitry and to Victory Bell in the Sun if for whatever reason he decides to bring it. So that's the Mega Houndoom. I do have enough Spadef investment to allow me to survive a Timid Max Special Attack Surf from Tapu Fini at full health, as well as an uninvested Surf from Tapu Fini after Stealth Rock. So that's pretty key there, I think, just to make sure I can get that damage off on Fini to allow this next monster to do a little bit more work against this team, and that is a Scarfed Swampert. So shout out to Monotui for this idea. This is Scarfed Swampert with dual stab, all I really needed, but the Earth Power is also a nice option here, just because that allows me to hit both the Doublade and the Torkoal a little bit harder for super effective damage, as both of those have very high Phys Def stats and low Spadef stats. So Earth Power is pretty nice here, and Super Power is just there to give me an extra option against the Blissey in case he decides to be a Phys Def variant and is not able to be 2-hit KO'd by the Earthquake. So yeah, Super Power is pretty nice there. Now this is so good against it because it outpaces Mega Gallade. It's another Pokemon, 3 Pokemon on my team already that can outpace Mega Gallade. The other one can just hit it with an Adamant Quick Attack. So I've got a lot of pressure on Gallade here. I've got a lot of pressure on all of his defense, so if he wants to bring balance, he's going to struggle, because I now have 2 Scarfers as well as 2 really, really scary breakers in Mega Houndoom and Terrakion. So that combination of offense, I really think he will struggle with. I don't think there's too many combinations of mons that he can bring that'll be able to wall out these 4 mons, and that means that that's all I really need for my offense. So I can move right on over to my Rotom Wash. Now this is more of a pivot throughout this game. It's my dedicated switch into the Weavile. The Alaright GMZ allows me to switch into knockoffs with ease because it cannot be knocked off, meaning knockoff does not get the power boost, which is really nice, as otherwise Weavile is kind of a huge detriment to my team, aside from my Zangoose outpacing it, my Mega Houndoom being able to take any one hit, and my Terrakion, of course, enjoying the justified boost from knockoff. So And Weavile unfortunately does outspeed the Scarfed Swampert, so that kind of sucks a little bit, but this does give me that way around it, that pivot around it. With Rest Talk, I'll be able to stick around for the majority of the game. Now, this speed allows me to outpace and mod Nidoqueen at max speed, which is pretty essential as well, I think, just to make sure I maintain that that strategy of making Nidoqueen pretty much useless offensively, and that's what this team does. It maintains either momentum on things like on Nidoqueen, which you'll see from the Crobat here at the end, or it's able to immediately threaten it and weaken it heavily. Which, I mean, Rotom is obviously very good at that with the Hydro Pump doing a metric million to most Nidoqueen spreads. So all I really need is the Volt Switch and the Hydro to be good against him here. And mainly Fizz Def, just to allow me to take those hits from Weavile and just in general from his team if I need to. Really not the biggest deal in the world. I could take a hit from Glade, I guess, if it has to, and Volt Switch on it into one of my offensive threats, but this is just a bulky pivot here, as well as this last Pokemon, which is also a bulky pivot, being the Crobat. Now, this set is pretty complex, but basically what it allows me to do is to OHKO a minimally invested Glade and HP with Brave Bird, just as an additional check to it, as well as having Protect allows me to scout out what a Scarf Circuitry wants to do. If he wants to try to check my Crobat with Circuitry, that means I can just click Protect. If he clicks Volt Switch, I can go hard into Swampert for free. If he clicks Energy Ball, I just stay in and click U-turn, because he's either going to switch out or he's going to stay in and click Energy Ball and stay in and click Energy Ball again, on which I can go in and make a Houndoom and just claim a kill, basically. So yeah, it's pretty much just a win-win for me by having Protect on this instead of something like Roost. Because I have Protect, I did opt to go for Black Sledge to have some form of recovery throughout the game, and U-turn, of course, for momentum, Defog to get rid of hazards, and Brave Bird to especially hit things like the Mega Gallade and the potential Victory Bell, as this really becomes my best offensive response to the Victory Bell. Most of my ways to deal with Victory Bell on this team in the Sun are through priority. This gives me a very good check to it as well, something that can just OHKO Victory Bell, as I can take a Weather Ball in the Sun as long as he is not at +2. So this gives me that option. I really don't think Victory Bell's coming, but admittedly this team's a little weak to it if he does decide to bring it, but I should be able to play around it with the triple priority and this Crobat, and just in general being able to maintain offensive pressure against him. So yep, that is the team. I guess I didn't mention the speed on this. I'm just outpacing, I believe, a speed creeping Weavile is what I'm outpacing. Let me verify. No, it's Scarf Nidoqueen. This is outpacing Scarf Nidoqueen, which is, you know, a possibility, I guess, but no real sense in outpacing a Weavile here, because I don't want to leave Crobat in on Weavile anyways. So yeah, so that's the team. Really solid overall, I think. 4 offensive Pokemon, including two Scarfers, 2 Breakers, and then 2 Momentum Pokemon. Kind of a cookie-cutter-like team, but I do think it's really effective overall. So I'll be back here in a little bit with the battle. It is going to be on Showdown. Unfortunately, we thought about playing on Wi-Fi, but I had to go home this past weekend, and that basically meant that we were not able to play on Wi-Fi because my internet at home is doo-doo. So, yep, well, I'll be back here in a little bit with the battle. So just a sec. Alright, and here we are with the match against Trev and his Houston Toxapexans, and as you can see, he decided to bring the Weavile, Mega Gallade, Tapu Fini, Blissey, Nidoqueen, and the Doublade. So this is kind of like the team I expected, but I really thought he would opt to go more offensive, putting Circuitry in the Blissey slot, and maybe putting in Uxie instead of the Nidoqueen or the Tapu Fini, just so he had a ground resist of some sort. But the team he brought is so weak to ground spam, so weak to it, so I can really just follow game plan A, which was to just wear down the Doublade and then spam ground moves as well in the process. So that's looking pretty nice overall. Unfortunately, because he brought both the Fini and the Blissey, that means the Houndoom is not too useful, so that'll be something that I decide to hang on to until late game, as I think there's a good chance that I'll be able to wear down both the Blissey and the Tapu Fini based upon the rest of my mons, and just based upon his general lack of switch-ins to ground attacks. So, yep, so that's pretty much all there is for team preview. I'm going to lead off with my Rotom here, as it does have a good matchup against pretty much anything, and I could definitely see him trying to lead with the Weavile here, trying to score an early knockoff against my team, which does, at face value, look pretty darn weak to Weavile. Now, he also could lead with a Nidoqueen here, and Rotom would also deal well with that. There's really not a lead matchup that Rotom fears here, so that's obviously going to be my best lead here. So let's go ahead and hop on into this and see if we can pick up that nice week 1 dub against TrevCL. So he is going to lead off with Tapu Fini as a lead off with my Rotom. Now here I'm just going to Volt Switch out because I don't really fear anything he's going to go for. He does just go straight for the Nature's Madness, and then this Volt Switch does half. Okay, it does half. This means that he is easily in range of a Tectonic Rage from my Terrakion, and if he is Choice Scarfed, he will be forced to switch out anyway. So I'm just going to fire off that Tectonic Rage for free, basically just claim my kill, as absolutely anything would be in range of 2 hits from the Terrakion here on that free switch. We're going to actually take out the Mega Gallade before it does anything at all, so that's really nice here for me. As here, he's going to go straight into his Nidoqueen to check me, as I can go straight into my Crobat just to deny Stealth Rocks, as long as I control hazards, really with that early advantage, I should be in really good shape this game. So I am just going to defog here as he goes for an Ice Punch. Now, I'm pretty free to just go for my own Brave Bird here just to scout the damage, and this reveals that he is not Fizz Def Nidoqueen. In fact, he's not even maximum bulk invested. He probably does have some HP, but he is just going to go ahead and set up his Stealth Rocks here again, as I'm going to defog those away, as I really might as well, just to maintain that overall hazards pressure and hazards support, I guess, just to win the hazards game, basically, is what I'm trying to say, as I'm willing to sacrifice my Crobat here to the Nidoqueen just to get rid of rocks, because that just allows me to get right back into my own Terrakion on the Nidoqueen and force him out with an Earthquake. Now here, I know for a fact he's going to go back into his Doublade. I could click Earthquake again if I really wanted to, but long-term, late game, Stealth Rocks are going to be much more important, because I need to wear things into range of Zangoose. I'm going to put up my rocks. Now here, I just decided to go ahead and go for the attack against the Doublade, because I should be able to take an Iron hit from this unless he's like adamant, and even so, I don't think I die to one hit, even in conjunction with the Shadow Sneak. So I was pretty free to just go for 2 Earthquakes there with my adamant Terrakion, weakening this thing into range of my Swampert, as he just goes for the Shadow Sneak, revealing that I'm actually offensive Swampert, don't have much bulk investment at all, as I'm going to just fire off the Earthquake, and now I'm locked into it, but I really don't care because he doesn't have a switch in. He goes into his Blissey, and instead of trying to recover stall me, he actually just goes for the S-Toss. My thought process on this was that if he does decide to try to recover stall me a little bit, worst case scenario, or I guess best case scenario for me, he'll end up putting me into range of Torrent, which means that I can just spam Torrent boosted Waterfalls with the Scarf Swampert, and that would be pretty nice too, for sure. So here, I'm able to take out the Blissey as he goes for the S-Toss, and then he revenges me with the Weavile, revealing my stylish choice Scarf, as here I'm going to reveal that I'm also Scarfed Zangoose, as I couldn't really do anything else, just in case he wanted to go for a Swords Dance or something. I wanted to maybe preserve Swampert, but I couldn't really allow him to get off that free SD, as I could definitely lose in that case. As here he's going to check my Zangoose with his Nidoqueen. I know Rotom's a pretty free switch, and so I'm going to go hard into that. And I missed the Hydro, so I will pause here briefly. Now, if he did end up going for Stealth Rocks here, which is fine now, it's actually not the worst thing in the world that I missed the Hydro, because if I missed the Hydro and he took me out here, I'd just be able to go into Mega Houndoom, and then I would be able to just click Fire Blast, basically. I could click Fire Blast or maybe even Sludge Bomb. It's basically, if he had attacked me on that turn on the missed Hydro Pump, he actually had a chance to win if he won a 50-50, I believe, because I'd be forced to go into my Houndoom, in which case I would have to click some sort of coverage option to either hit the Nidoqueen or the incoming Tapu Fini, and if I were to potentially get that wrong, then the Nidoqueen might not have been in range of Zangoose, and maybe there's a chance he'd be able to take me out with an EQ or a P-Jet if he had enough attack investment. So maybe going for Stealth Rock there might have been a misplay. Maybe he needed to bank on the Hydro Miss and tried to win that way, but it actually turns out that as I resume here and finally hit my next Hydro Pump, he's just going to go into his Tapu Fini, and he's actually Choice Scarf, but he is Modest, which means that my Zangoose outspeeds him anyways. So the only way he would have been able to win, I think, if he had attacked my Rotom on the missed Hydro Pump was to I guess crit me or somehow take out my Zangoose in one hit with the Nidoqueen. It would have gotten a little more dicey if he was a timid Scarfed Tapu Fini in conjunction with being able to hit my Zangoose with anything from the Nidoqueen, as that would ensure I'd be in range and then I'd probably lose, but that doesn't matter because we actually won the game anyway. So that's pretty cool. Despite the Hydro Miss, we were able to pull this out with a nice 2-0 victory against TrevCL and his Houston Toxapexans. So very nice way to start off the season here in NPL Season 7. Really nice to be able to start out with a win. Definitely did not want to start off with a loss because that could mean bad things as the season progresses. So next week we have a game against Cheeseboy628 and his Phoenix Sunkern. Haven't played him since Season 4, I think. Yeah, I haven't played him since Season 4, so it's been a while, and we're really looking forward to that as well. He has a pretty threatening team. He has a lot of fat, and then he has some pretty good sand offense as well with a Mega Tyranitar and a Stoutland, and then like some nice momentum with Swellow and Raikou. So he's got a pretty nice draft. It'll be a challenge to prep for sure, but hopefully we can start this season 2-0 and make that push for the playoffs and maybe even the championship. So hoping for the best on that. But thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all next time. Peace.